Alright, so in the last video, we got all the checkpoints working, and we got the finish condition functioning, so that when we hit the checkpoints in order, we get a time here, and the gate opens for us. But it still doesn't know that we came into this area and finished the game. So we're going to fix that, and kind of end the game out here in a simple way. To do that, we need to go to our scene, and I'm going to click right here on Finish Area 2L, right here. I'll zoom in. This is the goal that we're looking for. And if you drop this down, you can see that there's something here called End Trigger. If you look real hard, you can see a green box. This is the trigger that's going to tell us if we've entered this area. So we want to tell if we've hit that area. So we're going to need a script on this to tell us so we can use the on trigger enter. So with this selected, I'm going to add a glyph behavior component, or a diagram behavior component, and I'm going to open it up. And I don't want this to do anything on start. The only time I want this to do something is if we go to physics, on trigger enter again. On trigger enter is when I'm going to be hitting this thing. So during on trigger enter, we need to do something. And we could just see if it works right now. I could print to the debug log. I can just type in log, debug log message. I wonder if I can do that with a string, actually. Delete log. Debug log message. Doesn't want me to do that with a string. That's fine. I can make a string for it, but it's probably not worth it to do that. We'll just put something up to the screen when we hit this, or do something when we hit this. And actually, the thing we can do is I made a canvas for this. So I made kind of like a HUD canvas for this. You can see this big area right here. And I pre-made this so we don't have to make it during this time. You can just use it because it'll be in the package here when I package it up. And what I want to do is I want to play an animation on this when I hit this. So let's see if we can get that to work. Canvas. When I hit this area, this end trigger, I'm going to want to play the canvas animation. So there's a few ways that I can do that. I could make a glyph component on here. I can probably just do it by getting the component off of this. Let's test it out. In here, in finish area, on trigger enter, what I want to do is I want to find something called canvas. And on the game object, I want to get a component. And the component I want to get on this is animator. And off of the animator, I want to play something. So I usually do this by catching a variable, and we're going to see if we can just do it dynamically right here. On trigger enter, go into the scene and find something called canvas, which is right there, which has an animator on it. And the animator, the state I want to play on this is not new state. I want to do end fade in. So in here, in the on trigger, the state name I want to play is end fade in. We're going to see if this works. So I'm going to hit all these things so that I can open the gates up. And it works, but the problem is we can hit this multiple times again. It's the same problem we were having before, so I need to know if I actually hit this. So in here, on trigger enter, I need to do an is triggered or has been checked thing. When we did that with a bool before, so I'm going to make a bool and has entered. True or false if I have already or not. It's going to stay at false. So when this happens, we're going to say false. If we're going to do a check here, I can just bring it into the screen right here, add to graph. Do an if off of this, if this is false, meaning I haven't hit it, go ahead and do this. And then at the end, once I do it once, I have to bring this back in, and I have to set this to true. Assign, down there, click it to true. And now this should only happen once. Open the gates up. Gates are opening. Come in there. Oh, I must have this set to loop also. So I have not set my animation to not loop. One more thing we have to check. So on canvas, I'm going to go look at the canvas that I have here and click on this. And it's this end fade in that I want to see. I double click that, and that loop time is still set. And it's set by default, I just never turned it off. So I'm going to turn the loop off. Again, to find that, I went to the canvas, double clicked in the animator on the canvas, went to the state that I wanted to go into, end state, and double clicked on its animation right here, motion, and unclicked loop time. And now this should just stick around. It should just play it once. And it says time completed 0 because I haven't set this up yet, and press space to try again, which does not work because I haven't set that up yet. So we can set that time completed up in the on trigger enter for that. And we're going to have to do a couple more fancy things for that. In the canvas, we're going to have to tell this time text right here. We look at all of this. I need to be back in the scene. There's a text right here. I have it all alphaed out right now, so it doesn't show when it fades in. But there's a time right here that'll show up, and this time text I need to change this text here to get it to be the actual time. And so we can do that in the end trigger. And I'm going to open up this diagram. And what else do I got to do here? I have to get access to the text. So what do I need? I need text. And what I need is, let's see, text. I think I need GUI text. And I'm going to call this time text. And this should come right into it. It's not GUI text that I need. Delete. I just need text. Under the text is what I need. Just text. Time text. Now I'm going to take this up into here. And since it's a text variable, it has a text component on it. It's going to allow me to set this when I do this. And so to set this, when I come off of here, I kind of need to know what the time was again for this. So who holds the time? Well, the game main holds something called format time, which we pass in the time to. So I kind of need to get this format time function off of game main so that I can format this again. And we did this same thing in the checkpoint. You can see in the checkpoint we got a game main behavior, and we did all of this stuff. And I'm actually going to steal all of this. I can't steal it all because it's not going to want, I don't have all these variables in here, but I'm going to need to get a main game behavior off of this to do that. And I could probably steal it off of something else, but we're going to do it the long way again. We're going to copy the way we did it before. So I want a glyph behavior in here, and I'm going to call this main create. And in start, just like we did in the checkpoint here, that's the finish area. In the checkpoint, we did this same thing. Again, this is not that, I should not be looking for this multiple times, but I want you to get practice doing this. I should get this once and get it from somewhere else if I need to, but we're going to steal. We're just going to remake this, actually, so we get practice doing it. In start, we want to find something called game main. And off of that, we want to get component. Type of component we want is a glyph behavior. And we want to assign our main right there. Probably should have kept all the names. Should have called it main behavior or something. But now this knows about this. Remember, we still can't get the things we want off of it because this doesn't know what type of thing it is. It doesn't know about its behavior because it's none in there. And so I can just grab game main from right here, put it up there, and now this is going to know what types of variables and functions it has in here. But I only want to do this on trigger enter. I kind of want to format the time that's going to happen here, and I can do this after the bool set, I guess. I can say game main. I'll just do it here. Game main, add to graph. Since it knows about its variables, I want minutes. I'm actually going to go steal this from what I did in my checkpoint somewhere. Checkpoint. On trigger enter. I want to steal all of this. I'm going to copy. Go back to my end trigger here, and I'm going to paste it. And this is the behavior that has to come into these things. Minutes, seconds. And so now this is the string, same way. This is the string formatted that I'm going to want to set this text to. So with this, add to graph, say, bring this up a little. And there should be a set text in here. If I go to text, go down, there's set text, and it wants a string, and this is the formatted string that I actually want to pass in here. At this time. And so I could do this. This is totally fine to do it this way. This should work and get the minutes, seconds, and during that time to set this on trigger enter. I also could have called if I come off of here, I could have called its format time function and filled these in, but it keeps it anyway, so I don't need to. And this should set the text on trigger enter of that of the text that I drug in here, which was from the canvas here. So let's see if it works. There's 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 8 seconds, and now time completed is 10 seconds for the rest of the time it took me to get there. Time completed, 10 seconds, press space to try again. So this, I still don't have this working, press space to try again, but I don't want to just do this anywhere where I can just hit space whenever I want to, because I can only want to be able to hit space after I hit this. And I also don't want the helicopter to be able to move anymore. You can see the helicopter can move here still. So I can set a variable that says, okay, I don't want you to be able to move anymore. And that's logic that I would do in game main. And so in game main, I'm actually going to make this, click this finish area, and I'm going to apply this as a prefab. And then in game main, I'm going to make a bool that says is finished. And I'm going to keep that as false. And this is basically going to say the game knows if you've got to the end or not, so that I can do some other things. In an update here, I can make a sequence that checks for that. So this is how we can do restart. I'll just make a sequence. So just so I have some extra space and we can follow the logic a little bit better. Bring time up there. 1 goes into here. And 2 is we can do input get key down is what I want. Get key down. And I can drag into here. And the key I want is space. So I'm going to keep hitting S until it goes to space, which it's right up there. If space is hit, so I need to check this with an if, because it has a bool coming out of it. If space is pressed, I could do this in 2 ways. I could break this. I could do it check after it. But before I even let you check to see if space is pressed, I have to see if this is finished is true. So I'm going to bring that in. Variables, game main is finished. And I'm going to say if you're true, then you can check to see if you hit space. Because space doesn't do anything else in the game. And so what I want to do at this point in time is I just want to reset the game at that point. So I am going to go to scene management, scene manager, and I want load scene, and I'm going to do load scene by name. And the scene I want is, if I go down to scenes here, is I want this ph1_01. You have to type it in correctly or it won't work. ph1_01. And the mode is single, and that's fine. So this is going to say is finished, but this isn't set yet. I need this end trigger thing here to set this when I've entered it. And I can do that because I already have a game main reference here that I'm getting. So I can just put this in here, game main, add to this, is finished. And I want to set is finished here. So to set something, I can just drag off and assign bool. And I want this to be true. So now, in here, I got access to that game main, and I've said I'm getting its variable, and I'm going to set it to true. And if I set it to true, look, I'm going to hit space right now. I'm hitting space. Nothing's happening. And I may have had to add this to the build settings for it to actually load the scene, but we'll see in a second. Did that. I didn't. And I hit space, and then I restarted. So I'm hitting space as much as I want. Come in here, opens up, time completed, press space to try again. So the interesting thing about this is you can look at the time that's coming up here. So the time is 37 seconds now, so this time is not resetting because we are using the wrong time in here, 46 seconds. So we'll fix that in the next video, or we might fix it in this one. The last thing I want to do is make sure that this helicopter can't move after we've done this. So to do that, I need to go into the helicopter. And I can do this in the prefab, I guess. The prefab of the helicopter. And go into diagram here. And I don't want to allow this to move at all or do anything unless the game says I can. So game main. So I'm also going to need a reference to game main here. I could probably get it from somewhere else, but we're going to continue practicing how we did that. So I'm going to need a glyph variable, or glyph behavior here. And I'm going to call it main behavior. And off of this, find game main. Remember, we should probably do this once somewhere and save it and not have to do all these finds all the time. This is just for practice. Get component. Because find is kind of an expensive thing to do. It looks through all of the objects in here and tries to find something with the name here. Component I want is glyph behavior. And I'm going to set it up into my main behavior. And then again, I need to fill this in the main behavior so it knows what variables that I can mess with. And remember, in the game main, I made a variable called isFinished, and I set that variable inside of the is that trigger enter here. So in update, now that I have access to game main, I need to get game main. I can find it here also. Main behavior is finished. And I should only be doing this if isFinished is true. So if isFinished is true is the only time I should let this happen. And so we can test this out. Oh, something didn't like something. Not like something. Let's take this and revert to what that was. The problem is we did on this here, on the helicopter, we said true, and isFinished is true. isFinished, it has not finished yet, so we actually want isFinished is false. If it has not finished, we want to be able to control the helicopter. So now I can control the helicopter. At least I know it works, because when it is true, I could not do anything. So I'm going to come in here, and once I come in, I can't control the helicopter anymore. So as soon as you touch that, you kind of lose control, and it says, this is your time, game's over. The only thing I can do at this point is hit space to reload the entire level. And so that's it. You know what? I could probably fix this time thing real quick to make sure we're using the correct time when we do this. This is going to be in-game main. So in-game main in the diagram editor. I think it's the time that I'm passing in here. So if I right click this and go to documentation, this is the time in seconds since the start of the game. And I imagine it thinks that that game is still going even though I loaded a new level. So I have to find a different one here on which one we're going to get here. Time get time scale. See which one I want here. Time since level load. This is probably the one I want. And if I right click this and go to documentation, since the last level has been loaded, this is what I want. I want since the last level is loaded instead of time. So if I drag this one in, this should allow me to to do this. And I have to make sure in the checkpoint I didn't use that also. So in checkpoint L, I'm getting the time from game main. That's great. And when I show that, I'm getting it from game main, so I am okay in the way that I'm doing that. So this should work correctly now with the correct time. So see if that brings me in. I can't move. I kind of crash landed in there. Space, I'm going to try again, and this should set it back. There it is. 1, 3, 4. In there. Space again, and we got it. So we fixed the right time in there to get it correct. And remember, that was just because I was using the wrong thing here. I was using time, which just kept going and going, instead of time since level load. And you can find out, once you put the node in here, if you go to documentation, you can find out this is what Unity would say that this thing would do. So, you know, if I clicked on input down here, returns true during the frame, which pressing that with the key code parameter, and I put in space. So we can find information by right-clicking and going to documentation on that. So that's it. That pretty much ends the game out. I might do some advanced stuff with some more videos to show, maybe put some health on the helicopter, and when he runs into things, allow you to die, and maybe a high score thing. So thanks for watching. I'll see you later.